Testament here that this is going to be a dwelling place of God. Not just where God will come and make a visitation or see us every now and then, but it's coming to a time where there'll be people moving to this area that they don't even know why they're moving to this area. Because there's going to be great signs and wonders here. And we want to see them. But I'm impatient and I want to see them now. Well, I go to Virginia about 3 months ago. Because after the accident, we were down a vehicle. If you haven't seen, there's a barbecue pit outside that weighs a pound or two. And I've got an old Chevrolet truck that won't pull it. And we needed another truck for pulling that pit to our catering. So my mother has a brother-in-law up there, found me a truck. So I flew up, got to visit my daughter and my grandkids, my mother and my stepdad. And the day I got there, she said, "Do you want to go to this church service with us tonight?" And I remember going to a lot of church services with my mother, and a lot of it was the Pentecostal holiness, which, again, I don't have nothing against them, but I was raised in it, and a lot of it I don't believe because they take some things out of context. So I said, "Sure, I'll go eat." So we loaded up the grandkids and my daughter and mother and stepdad, and they were both singing for this guy. That's why they were invited, because they do this bit here. So we get there, and one of my other stepsisters, who I know but I don't really know, she gets up when the evangelist said, "Is there anybody that needs prayer or needs a healing?" So she gets up there and goes to him and tells him whatever specific thing she was asking for a healing for. And then he asked her, he said, "Do you know that you have," and he named something which I didn't pay attention to at the time, so I don't even know it now. And she says, "Yes, I know, but I haven't told anybody about it," because she had just found out. Well, he's standing back away, and she's probably where the front of the stage is, and he's where I'm at. He didn't go up and slap her head or put his hands on her, which is nothing wrong with putting his hands on her, but he said, "I don't need to be there." He said, "God's healing." And he gave her a couple of other things that he asked her about, if she knew about, and some of them she did, some of them she didn't. And he said, "Okay, well, everything's healed." Well, that's fine and dandy. I didn't see anything, so I don't know that it happened. But then he asked if anybody else does, and my mother looks at me, and I said, "Yes, sure, I'll go up there." So I go stand before him, and he says, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I have 3 herniated discs." So he points them out to me, and I said, "That's pretty much where they're at." He said, "Well, how much pain are you in from 1 to 10? I said, "Well, right now, being medicated, probably about 7. He said, "Can you bend down and touch the floor?" He said, "Do me a favor, turn sideways, bend down and touch the floor." And I looked at him and kind of laughed. I said, "I'm 48 years old. I haven't seen the floor since I was 30. At least bending over to touch it." So I bent over and I made it to about here. And that's about all further I can go, and the pain in the back started just shooting up my back. So he had me turn and face him and said, how high can you lift your arms?" And I lifted them both up, and I got about here, and I could start feeling the tug on my herniated disc. I said, "About here." He said, "All right." He said, "It's being taken care of." He said, did you know that you had the beginning of an ulcer?" And he pointed out my stomach area where it was. I said, "No." And he said, "Well, it's from what you've been taking to ease the pain for your back." Well, I did notice that I don't get heartburn. I've got an iron stomach, but I had been getting heartburn periodically in the last couple of months. And he said, "You have issues with your heart?" I said, "I'm on blood pressure medicine. I have been since I was about 30 years old." He said, "Well, that's taken care of too." And that's basically all I said. I'm sitting there waiting for something big to happen, for him to come up and pray for me or something. He says, "You're healed." He said, "Now what I want you to do is turn sideways, and I want you to touch the floor." Well, I did. Now I'm not going to try it here because I got the jeans on anyway. I turned sideways, and I bent down, and my fingers touched the floor. That was 18 years since I've been able to do that. Back didn't hurt. He said, now I want you to take the palm of your hand, and I want you to lean over, and I want you to touch the floor. Well, that did bring a laugh, because I couldn't do that even when I was in shape and stretching. So I did. I didn't touch the floor. I got almost there. And then the hamstring started tightening up, and I said, it ain't going to happen. He said, did it hurt your back? I said, no, my back don't hurt. My hamstrings do now. Thank you very much. He said, well, turn around and lift your hands and tell me how high you lift them. So I was able to lift them straight up over my head and didn't have any more pain. So I know that it was healed. I haven't had a pain other than some of my employees since.
That's your low.
Some of my family. So my walk with faith is slowly getting there. It's still a work in progress. We got a long road to go. We had a lady come in here, sat over here in one of these booths, and she was from Israel. She said, can I pray with you? Well, that's not something that is abnormal here or in our other Forsyth barbecue place. We would have people come in the middle of all of our customers, and over there, 32 was all of our customers. And they would ask to stand up, and we would stand up with them, and they would pray in front of everybody. Never bothered us, never concerned us. If you didn't like it, enjoy your meal. There's the door. And it happened here a couple times. Well, over here at the booth, she says, can I pray with you? I said, sure. So she starts praying with me. She said, I've got a word for you. She stops her prayer, and she said, you're going to be speaking in Canada, Alaska, and all throughout the West. I'm thinking, I don't have time enough to keep this place going, much less being able to go speak somewhere. But I guess where there's a will, there's a way, and if God wants me to do it, we'll be doing it. Earl and Kathy come in and asked me to do this, but before they asked me to do this, they said, you have a calling on your life to preach. And I kind of laugh every time I hear it, because I heard this when I was in the Pentecostal church at the altar, and everybody there was family, so I don't know if it was an aunt, a cousin, my grandmother, who it was, said that you're going to be the next preacher in this church. If he wanted me to, I would, but I really hope he don't make me go back there.
What was the first thing your grandparents asked me?
When she come to Pennsylvania to visit, when we just graduated high school, she was in college. I had quit college, was training horses. We're sitting around the dinner table, and we had one of them old-fashioned Walton dinner tables that sat about 12, pretty close to about this size, a little wider. And it was one of those things that, as a family, we still done. So my grandmother and grandfather was over. Probably had some cousins and some, I know all my brothers and sisters were there. So we're sitting at the dinner table, and my grandfather, now she's a bartender, by the way, while she's in college. Grandfather looks at her and says, or my grandma, was it grandma or grandma?
I don't remember, it was one of them.
Says, well, how do you feel about being married to a preacher? She said, I don't have a problem with it. And I'm looking at her thinking, well, then she's not married to me, because I'm not going to be preaching. And I fought it, and they've told me this for years, and I don't know that I am going to be a preacher. I mean, there's different preaching abilities, I guess. I don't know that I'll be up here behind the pulpit giving a word every Sunday. I do know that I have a calling for something. And it's probably going to be in speaking, because if it wasn't for that sound booth and then a little back and forth with this guy over here every Friday, I'm not really shy, but I just don't like getting up and talking to in front of a lot of people. When we have meetings here at work, that's about all I want to do. What? What, you calling me a fibber now?
I said you never know it.
So Since we've been here, I've been asked to MC a couple different things and had a couple thousand people, and I don't have to see all of them. I'm on a microphone that I guess I understand what you go through. You can close your eyes a lot when you're singing, so you block everything out. The lights. But our walk with faith is ongoing. It will continue. We hope that everybody here will continue it with us. We've got a long way to go with this place. We've got a long way to go with employees and families of employees. Our kids that we're not so much mentoring them, but we do have a family atmosphere here with with customers included, but our staff is part of the family. And that's one thing Teresa always tries to tell everybody. Something that God had told her a long time ago was this was a place that was going to change lives. This stage was said that even before we moved here, that there would be preaching from this stage. Well, we know that has come to pass, and that was said, we've been here a year and a half now, and that was said before we got here. And it's been said before the church was here by a couple of different people who has been in here. The lady that told me I would be speaking out west in Alaska and Canada, wherever that may be. I can't wait to go to Alaska. She said that there would be preaching from this stage. That has brought up an issue with the city. It has brought up an issue with a bunch of the pastors in the city. She got a phone call one day from a young lady, I assume a young lady, I'll say she's young, I don't know how young she was. She said, I want to know about the church you have at Four Seas. She said, well, what would you like to know about it? She said, well, do you have a church at Four Seas? She said, yes, ma'am. In a bar? No, we're a restaurant, but we have a bar. Will you serve liquor? She said, not during service. So, yeah, we have a church here. We hope for all of you and Burl and Kathy that it's a success. It's needed. We had to talk with them. You know, there's a lot of people who've never been to church. This is more a comfortable atmosphere. More power to them. More power to you. I know there's been people that had instances and hurtful feelings at other churches, and that's brought them here. You're here. That's the main thing.
Amen.
I'll close with this. Faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Hebrews 11:1. Hopeful for what we do not see, because nobody has ever seen God. But we all have faith that He's there. Because it's only by faith that we know that. Other than the spoken word of Christ and what we've been told through the Bible and the word of the Bible. But without faith, you don't have anything. And without faith, we don't have this. And it was all a leap of faith just to come here. And we're still, I'm not there yet. I'm close. What'd you say, Judy?
I said, you may not believe it, but I do.
I know you do. But we're going to get there. I'll be 100%. I don't lack a whole lot of faith. But I'm still waiting to see some of this that we have come to fruition, because we know it's going to. Everything else has. So you can't deny that the spoken word is there. But just remember, in everything you do, in your walk, have faith. Thank you.